Ebony's creativity.
Hey everybody, I'm Ebony. This is Ebony's Creativity. Thank you so much for joining me here on my channel. Today I have for you another furniture flip. I know you guys really seem to enjoy those videos, so I'm bringing you another one today. You guys really seem to like the last set of nightstands that I did, so today I have for you another set of nightstands. I hope that you really enjoy this video. If you have not already, please subscribe to my channel. Thumbs up the video if you like it or if you find anything useful in the video. And without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into it. So as you saw in the title, this video is unique from any of my other videos, and that is because this is going to be a reflip of a previous flip. So here is how these nightstands looked initially when I bought them 5 years ago. I did refinish them and keep them in my house, but 5 years ago I was not as skilled with refinishing as I am now. So I knew that I could do something creative with them, and I do think they turned out pretty cute. Here's how they looked after my first flip. So the color scheme in the room where I put these was beige and gold, so of course I wanted to make them match, and this is what I did with them. So I think they're pretty cute, and they definitely have given me my $10 worth. I paid $10 for both of them. So now I have moved the gray nightstands that I also refinished on this channel into my room. If you have not seen that video, I will link that above and below, so make sure you check that one out. Also at the end of this video. But these have run their course. I'm kind of tired of looking at them. I do think they're cute, but I did make some mistakes when I was refinishing it the first time, and I've only got space for one set of nightstands, so these have to go because I'm just in love with the gray ones that I did here on the channel. And I just could not see myself parting ways with those. So as you can see on these, there are some areas at the bottom that were not covered well the first time. There's some kind of cup marks on the top. There's some areas on the front here that were not covered well. I really just did these quickly. And the little tacks that you see are actually thumbtacks. They are, it's one pack of tacks that I got from Dollar Tree. And on one of the nightstands, the first one that I did, I actually hammered each tack into place. But on the second one, I got a little bit smarter, and I used some pliers to like yank off the part that actually sticks in, and I just used the top part of the tack and glued them on. So that nightstand will be much easier to remove, but I'm sure the one that I hammered in is going to give me a run for my money. So anyways, this is where we are right now, and let's go ahead and see what we can do to get these sold. So for this first nightstand, there really weren't too many areas that I needed to sand, but you see this one area here on the side that has some texture to it. So I'm just knocking that back with this 120 grit sandpaper, followed by 220 grit sandpaper. And I'm just hitting a few other areas the same way, starting out with 120, then going up to 220, just smoothing out some little areas that I saw that needed to be addressed. But again, there wasn't anything major on this first nightstand. Up next, I'm going to be wiping this whole piece down now that I've done all my sanding, and I am just using cleaning vinegar and a microfiber cloth to wipe the whole nightstand down. Here is the paint that I'll be using for this piece. Lichen, I believe that's how you pronounce it, by Fusion Mineral Paint, and my Old Faithful paintbrush that I always use. On this first nightstand, I'm going to show you kind of how I paint. And then for the next one, we're going to speed it up because I wasn't quite sure how much footage that you guys would want of me doing the same thing over and over again. So I do love this Fusion Mineral Paint. It doesn't level as well as my absolute favorite paint, which is Wise Owl in my opinion. But I have easier access to this paint, and it's a little bit cheaper than the Wise Owl also. And it's a really good paint, and it has some beautiful colors. So that's what we're going with right now. You can kind of see my technique here. I'm just making back and forth motions, trying not to cover the same area, kind of covering the previous stroke by about 30%, but making steady progress down the side of this nightstand. So with my when I first dip into the paint, as you can see there, I kind of make a little puddle that I can spread out, because I'm not using a paint tray or anything. I'm just going straight out of the bottle and onto this nightstand. So I make my little puddle, and then I spread that out, and then I go back to what I was doing before. The key thing is not to go over the same area too many times, because you don't really want to start moving the paint that you put on in your first pass. You kind of just want to keep it moving. I know it can be tempting to, if you see an area that you missed, to try to address it right away, but always keep in mind that you're going to do more than one coat, and you don't have to get everything perfect on the first go round. So as you can see from what I was just doing, I just added some more paint, and I kind of just made a puddle, and I'm just smoothing that puddle out and overlapping where I was previously at. So this is kind of my technique. Some painters paint in all different directions, but I don't do that. I try to keep my strokes going in the same direction. So now I have added no additional paint, and I'm just gently doing like a half coat, not even a full coat. Just gently with whatever is left on my brush, going over the whole side panel of this nightstand, and just trying to eliminate any previous brush strokes, and I'm going to leave that at that. It's not 100% perfect. It looks pretty good, but I will go back over it on my second coat. I'm not going to go over that part anymore. Now you can see that I'm just moving on, doing the same thing, kind of just going in the same direction with long strokes, up and down, up and down. So here I am doing the top of this piece, and as you can see, it's just really more of the same. I'm just going back and forth. I put a little puddle, but I'm just a little bit out of frame. But same thing that I've been doing. Dip into the paint, put a little puddle, and smooth that out. Then I tried to switch hands so that I could stand back and do this so that you guys can see. But that became too hard, so I switched back. Guys, the struggle is real trying to film these videos, okay? Like the video, just for that purpose alone. Anyways, yeah, so you can see more of the same. Doing my puddle and just going, smoothing it out, making sure all my brush strokes are in the same direction. Trying not to go over the same area too many times. Just kind of a stroke to add to smooth out my puddle, and then a stroke to smooth out the brush strokes. So I hope this is making sense. You can kind of see, again, there's a puddle that I'm adding, and right now I'm just kind of spreading it out, and then I'll go back over the area to kind of give it a final smoothing stroke. So I'm glad that this is video and I'm not just trying to explain with words. You can kind of see I've got a lot of paint in this middle area where I put my little puddle, but I'm just going back and smoothing it out and blending with the previous strokes that I did. So when you see me making short strokes like this, that's because my brush has become way too saturated, and I'm just trying to get the paint off the brush and just smooth it out. But most of these chalk style paints and mineral paints, all of these kind of paints, they allow for this. So they dry pretty quickly, but you still have a little bit of time while they're wet to work with them. And so that's what I like about these paints. That's why from my previous videos where I was testing spray painting, I'll just always stick with this kind of paint instead, because it's easier for me to work with, and it gives you a little bit more time to work with it before it completely dries. So even in this shot here, you can see the brush strokes that are on that side panel. This is a much better view of how that side panel turned out. It's still drying, but you can kind of see that it's not perfect. But once I go over it again, I can address everything that I'm seeing there and give it a much better finish. So the same will be true for this top part. I've kind of gone over it and smoothed out and applied the paint, and so now I'm doing my final smoothing strokes over the whole thing. Then I'm just addressing those side panels. As you can see, I didn't hit the sides yet, but I'm coming around and I'm going to hit this little side piece that I have left over. In the same way, up and down strokes. Here's how I'm doing the inside of this. I'm going to be painting this whole thing, and the inside is no different from the outside. Again, I have a little puddle that I plop down, and I'm just kind of doing one stroke to smooth out the puddle and then one stroke to smooth out the brush strokes and kind of help everything lay down nicely. So that's my technique, and I'm just going to speed that up because I'm repeating the same thing over and over again. Get the corners, getting the edges, and then just apply a puddle, smooth out the puddle, and then smooth out the brush strokes. So that's what I'm doing here. Hopefully this is kind of helping you to understand my painting technique. I know some of you watch these videos to learn how to do this, and some of you just watch because it's nice to watch some other people work, and it's nice to see something go from one thing and have a complete transformation. But I'm trying to teach those of you who are trying to learn. I do have a paint sprayer that's pretty decent, but I just like hand painting. I don't know. I just really prefer to hand paint. And so hopefully some of what I'm showing you can help you kind of get my technique. This is not by any means the only or the best technique, but this is my technique. So I'm just hoping that, you guys can learn something from me for those of you that are here for that purpose. So anyway, here is how my first coat is looking. You can see there are some areas that are not, like right here, that are not covered well. There's some brush strokes. So it's not perfect. Looks pretty okay, but it's not perfect. So we're going to address that on the second coat. Alright, so while we wait for that first coat to dry, we are moving on to the next nightstand. Here's how that one looks. It does have some areas that also need a sanding, so I'm going to go in with 120 grit sandpaper again and just sand those areas smooth, and just follow that up with some 220 grit sandpaper to smooth out any areas that I have roughed up with the 120 grit sandpaper. And this one was just in a little bit worse condition because this was the one that was closest to the bed. So on this one, I'm just really doing a scuff sanding over the whole thing using that 220 grit sandpaper. And that'll just help ensure that everything is smooth and that my paint will stick a little bit better. And since this one kicked up a lot more dust because I did a lot more sanding, I'm just using my vacuum to do an initial cleaning on this one. And then I'll be following that up with the cleaning vinegar and my microfiber cloth to finish cleaning this piece up. And then it will be all ready for paint. So like I said before, I did not want to bore you guys by showing you the same thing over and over again. But I am using that same technique to do the second one. And I am just doing my little puddle and going up and down, up and down, up and down until I am done. And I'm doing that same thing on all sides, just like I did for the first one, making sure that all my brush strokes are going in the same direction. So like I mentioned previously, one of these, I nailed down each of these tacks into this wood. So you can see me here kind of picking them off one by one. This may look like it took a while, but it really actually didn't. I'm also removing the handle here, and I'm just literally going through one by one and taking these out. The other drawer front was much easier because I just literally one scrape, they all popped off because none of the tack parts were actually hammered in. So thank God I got smart for that second one, but this is the first one that I did. So I figured I would show you this one because it was much more complicated to remove these. So I'm just using the corner of my little tool and painstakingly removing each one of these tacks, which will reveal about 1,000 holes in the front of this drawer. Okay, so what I did was I took this plastic wood, and what I have is kind of dried out, but I still wanted to use it. So I added some water to it and stirred it up. And I got kind of a paste, which is what I'm going for. And I've started, as you can see, just to see if it would work. And it seems to be working pretty good. I have a lot of holes from where those tacks were. So I am just gonna fill them in like this. This is much easier than trying to doing one by one. I'm just filling this whole thing. There's also some texture from the wood on the front of this jar front that I did not like. So that's another reason why I'm just filling the whole thing and kind of just trying to get one smooth drawer front. Here I'm just going in the opposite direction and just trying to get this stuff as smooth as possible. And so you can see me kind of doing a final stroke. Really, this is kind of like my painting technique. Kind of put it on messily just to get it on there and then go back over everything and smooth it out. Here's how that ended up looking. So once that dried, I'm going to take this 120 grit sandpaper and just wrap it around the sanding sponge and just smooth everything out. And then I will be switching over to 220 grit sandpaper after that and going over it for a final smoothing. So as you can see, this drawer kind of has a lot going on. You've got the gold paint, the beige paint, and the filler. So I am just going to hit this and the other drawer with some Ben primer just to give myself a muted palette to work with. You can see this drawer that I'm currently doing doesn't have much in the way of texture. It just has the paint that I started with because I was able to scrape those tacks off, and just using the scraper I was able to kind of smooth everything out. But this one on the left is the one we just got finished filling, and it has a lot going on. So I just want to give myself kind of a muted palette on both of them and make sure that I don't prime one and paint over it and not prime the other, and then the paint doesn't look the same. So that's the reason why I'm just priming both of these, just to mute out everything that's going on underneath and to give myself clean palettes to paint over. And I'm just going to do both of these in the same way that I applied the paint. Just really quickly put it on there, lay it down, and back and forth in the same direction. So after I do this first coat, I am just going to go right into painting and skip over the second coat, but I will be applying 2 coats of this Ben primer. It is kind of hard to decide what to put in and what to take out of these videos. I don't want to make the video last forever, but I do want you guys to get a clear picture of what I'm doing. So if I'm leaving out things or going past things too quickly, leave me a comment and let me know. So here's how they looked after 2 coats of primer were dried. And now I am just going right into painting. I'm going to do the edges first. And then I am going to, again, apply a little puddle on the corner and then kind of just get the paint on there and then go over it to smooth everything out. Doing some short strokes to kind of get the excess paint off my brush. And then, again, smoothing everything out in long, even strokes. So I am leaving this one in real time just so you can see how I'm doing this and how long it's taking and kind of this full scope of my technique, which is pretty simple. But after I finish this first drawer, I am going to quickly speed past the second one because, like I said, I don't know how much of this repetitive stuff you guys want to see, and I'm doing exactly the same thing as I did on the first one. Here is what I will be using for my protective coat today. Normally I use the polyacrylic finish, but I've switched into using furniture wax, and as you can tell by the half empty container, I really do like this product. This product, you just kind of take a microfiber or lint-free rag and you kind of buff it into the painted project after you've allowed it to dry for overnight. Basically, several hours of dry time are required in between the final coat of paint and this wax. But as you can see, it kind of just gives a polished look, kind of a really nice finished look. It's not satiny like my polyacrylic finish, but I really do like this. It just gives it it kind of takes it from ashy to just polished, if that makes any sense. You can kind of see what's going on this piece right here. So I really do like the finish that it provides. And on a day like today where it is pouring rain outside, I don't have to worry about going outside to spray polyacrylic, which is my new preferred method of applying that. I kind of just can just buff this on and go on to the next project. So I really do like this product, and it has a great smell. It really does smell nice. I think this one is in a lavender scent, and it's just really easy to work with. You just buff it on and buff off any excess and just give it time to cure, and it provides a really durable finish, similar to the polyacrylic. So I really, really, really like this product, and I will continue to use it. And I'll be using it over the whole nightstand, inside and outside, making sure that I do 2 coats on the top because that's going to get the most wear and tear over time. Have you made it this far in my video without liking, commenting, or even worse, subscribing? Well, if so, please do not forget to subscribe to my channel. Leave me a comment letting me know what you learned, liked, or disliked in the video, and thumbs up the video if you found any useful information in it, or if you just found it enjoyable. On my channel, I am doing chit-chat videos, thrifting videos, home decor videos, DIY videos, woodworking videos, and furniture flip videos. So if you are interested in any of that, or if you have a friend that might be, please share my channel, subscribe, engage with me in the comment section, and let me know what you're liking and disliking. So without further ado, let's hop right into the big reveal. If you have the time, please select another one of my videos to watch from the choices on your screen. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you guys in my next video. Bye guys.